just like a snake hiding within the tall grasses, as too human predators lurk within the corners of the world. That for centuries, our ancestors have cried out in their warning, in the words that they left behind, describing their encounters with others who behaved like monsters, absent of any conscience, devoid of any moral compass. The unscrupulous man who would lie, cheat, and take from others for their own gluttonous desire, and the unruly, rebellious, disobedient members of their tribe, to which no form of discipline or punishment would take, so unruly that they ordered be taken to the town gates to be stoned to death by the men in the town. These ancient scriptures that took root in different eras and different cultures, all revealing the same chilling truth about these souls that walk amongst us. There's something about them that just isn't quite right. And it's from within this that the term psychopath was born. Psyche meaning soul, and pathos meaning suffering. That as up to date has no definitive explanation or distinct root cause. There are no conclusive ways of testing or to confirm for it concretely. There have been no effective treatment modalities and or cure for this disorder, leading to what has become the ultimate paradox to narcissistic psychopaths, in that if and when an individual actually sits down in front of a psychiatrist, diagnose, which most don't, as their being egocentric, not seeing themselves as the problem or being problematic or having any guilt or remorse for the things that they do. And therefore, regardless of neuroplasticity that can make it possible for changes to occur in the way that the brain functions or in rewiring the pathway that it follows, still doesn't change the fact they have not but a fuck to give in consideration to the thought of their needing to change a damn thing. But you see, here's the scariest part of it all, in that deep down, we know this. The doctors, the scientists, and at some point, the unfortunate ones who have been on the receiving end of their wrath know this. In fact, Robert Hare, most known for his contribution with the Hare Psychopathy Checklist, quotes, "The shortest chapter of any book written on psychopathy should be the one on its treatment. A one-sentence conclusion, such as, 'No effective treatment has been found,' or 'Nothing works,' then goes on, further explains that psychopath and narcissist have grossly inflated views of their self-worth and importance, a truly astounding egocentricity and sense of entitlement, seeing themselves as the center of the universe and superior beings who are justified in living according to their own rules. But furthermore, it is equally as futile to endlessly try to determine the root cause, or further trying to make sense of the methods to their madness, as in doing so only adds to the confusion and multitude of misconceptions, misunderstandings that have come about from within these attempts at achieving the impossible that are now floating about amongst the general public. As there is no way to determine the exact cause, because we know that it's not specific to one thing, event, situation, circumstance, or environmental factor, but more or less is but a crapshoot with no way to predict and or prevent. Even with the advancements in technology and having access to brain scans that have been done on narcissistic psychopaths, because it is one of those things like the chicken and the egg. Yes, there are structures from within the brains that have been scanned on these individuals that differ from that of the average person, but this information still gets us only a whole lot of nowhere, as there's no way to determine if they were born with these or the result of the difference to their thinking and therefore different parts of their brain being accessed more or less frequently to that of the average person that it can and in fact does with many other disorders, illnesses, or injuries. Because the bottom line is the only way to have even but a sliver of a shot in pinpointing the root cause would be to start performing these scans on their brain from the day one is born, then continuing to periodically repeat them well into their adulthood, as well as continuously monitor them, the family, the parenting style to which they are raised, interactions that they have with others in the community, their siblings, friends. They're taking into consideration any unexpected changes, tragic losses, or environmental factors. But even then, still would leave room for error, as there is zero way of knowing the unique personality that they are going to be born with, to which could lead to their perception of everything that was monitored being so completely different than anyone else could have expected, predicted, or imagined. And well, who in their right mind would want to go ahead and sign their newborn child, not to mention family, up for that? Ain't no fucking body. That, though sucks, there's also no way around it. And to further look for this loophole in efforts of our wanting to make sense of something that has already far surpassed its point of proving that this is not going to be effective, and that perhaps has made something that, though is complex in the sense that these individuals' way of thinking and behaving is like that to some alien from another planet, but our continued efforts trying to make sense of something that we simply can't only adds to the complexity and has seemed to be blinding us from going about this in a way of reason, as it's within reason guides us to truer knowledge and leads to better decision by making inferences from extracting information from the information that we already have and seeing what conclusion we can reach based off of the support that these facts provide, not using conclusions to come up with reasons, because we are determined to make sense of something, to be right, or to have an easier way to justify it to others. Because what separates narcissistic psychopaths apart from any other disorder out there is that the harm and disruption that it brings to one's life is not to the individual, but to those around them and those to which they abuse. Yet, sadly, as it currently stands, it's those that they abuse that end up doing the time for their crimes and paying deeply for the things that they have done, intentionally, systemically, and methodically to bring about manufactured chaos, unnecessary drama, and dismember the very essence of who they once were. And then making matters worse and more disheartening is that when those that they have abused finally figure out what in the hell is going on here and get the courage to finally speak out, trying to attempt to warn others about these monsters hiding in plain sight, they are criticized, judged, and not believed by members of their own family and their closest friend. These deplorable meat sacks have isolated them from, triangulated, and ran their name through the mud with smear campaigns and have already bought in to these psychopaths' bullshit, to which are far more prevalent in society than most would even care to think, and are not only people like Dahmer, Bundy, and Hitler, that though, yes, they are on the extreme end of things in terms of numbers of individuals and or in the way that they dismembered their bodies, ate their brains, or slowly starving them for months. But they are not extreme in the sense of the motivations, intentions, and behaviors, nor is it as extreme for these individuals murdering others, if that's what they feel that they need or want to do. Continuously watched amongst documentaries, crime series, and highlighted on in breaking news, like Chris Watts, who brutally murdered his wife and 2 small children, and David Trauger, who broke in to his ex-wife's houseboat, shooting her and her new boyfriend, then proceeding to douse the houseboat with gasoline, lighting a match, hopping into his little dinghy, and drifting off into the sunset. These individuals not having official diagnosis, it gets overlooked or obviously isn't mentioned, but amongst all of these stories, it's the same, that it was something completely unexpected, taking the individuals in their community, other family members and friends, for such a shock. They had no idea that these individuals could possibly have ever been so cruel, almost slipping below the radar from even becoming a suspect to these murders, having a complete disregard for others, no sense of guilt, remorse, and seeing themselves as God, knowing what to look out for, the types of manipulative tactics that they use, that even if parts of them forever remain a mystery, we are still able to far better protect ourselves from them than we are by keeping our head buried in the sand and pretending that they don't exist, by cutting them off, not fueling their supply, and refusing to play their twisted game, and not rewarding these killer instincts within our communities just so that we can get ahead. May not be the foolproof plan, but it's the best that we may be able to do to protect ourselves from these fools who have hands down created far more harm to others and to society as a whole than all other disorders or mental illnesses combined. Remember that. And remember, you are worth and deserve so much more. Focus on you. Fuck the narcissist.